Okay, so you've just reset your console and gotten back to this particular menu. You can just mash start after resetting the console to get back to this menu very quickly. Once you get here, mash A to reload. We're going to go through this store. Now, it's important to note what's about to happen. So let's talk about it before we go outside. At this point in the game, we have to talk to a few NPCs to initiate a bit of a small fetch quest in order to progress the story and allow us to access the second dungeon. The issue here becomes how to know where the NPCs are, because their positions change based on the time of day. So what is the most optimal path? This is the current most optimal path on console. On emulator, this path does not seem to work. Currently, there are a few runners trying to figure out a better path for emulator, but on console, this is the best path that is known so far. That doesn't mean there isn't a better one. Again, with games like this that have a very small community, I recommend runners to experiment. Don't just watch this tutorial and try to do a run. I mean, you should do that, obviously, but experiment and have fun. There's always a lot of cool things that we can all discover. Anyway, let's move on. When you come out of here, immediately go around this corner. You'll see someone come out of this house if the manipulation was correct. We're going to come into this loading zone and walk forward until we get 2 text boxes. Dismiss them and continue back out of this loading zone. From here, go right, go around the corner of this house, and then jump in this direction. You're going to walk onto the top of this yellow house, to the right, and down these stairs. Talk to the NPC that's in the front, NPC that's in the back, and then turn around. We're going to go back up the stairs. Remember the diagonal jumping into the wall from earlier that allows us to preserve our momentum. We're going to go into this blue house here, talk to this NPC, exit the house. We're going to go around this staircase and back on top of the yellow house, and then in to the yellow house. Talk to this NPC, back out. From here, we're going to go to our menu and write 1 and use our sleeping capsule. This allows us to not have to go to the chief's house in order to sleep. When you enter the house, you'll get 2 text boxes, mash through, come to the bed, talk to the bed. Back through the door. From here, go down these stairs. We're going to leave the village. I promise, once you do this run maybe 3 times, you'll become very, very familiar with this particular segment of the game. There is a lot of backtracking and what I would personally like to call padding. However, there's still merits to this game as a speed game, I've noticed. In particular, the dungeons are quite fun to run. So there, I've walked onto the top of that mushroom and notice it scooted me forward, but more importantly, I didn't take fall damage, which does cost some time. We're going to continue up here and talk to this NPC here. It'll warp us back to the yellow house, dismiss these text boxes, and then leave. Come around this back corner of the house, and this way. Puts us further up the staircase, which is good. Remember, jump up onto that staircase, jump up onto this one, and continually jump. Try to preserve as much momentum as possible. It applies here as well, into the wall at a slight diagonal angle. Here, you'll find this NPC. If you're early enough, sometimes he'll just be running down the stairs. If you're late, he'll be a little further along and further down. Fall down that way, grab that item there for later. Jump down here. Stairs. And out we go. Again, fall onto this mushroom to avoid fall damage. We're going to continue forward to this door. And here is the second maze of the game. Continue forward and to the right from here, take a left, and you can kind of do a small straight line there, right, and from here, right, up, left, and then hug the right wall. Well, not the right wall, but continue like a rightward path till you get to this back corner. From here, follow the only path we have for quite a bit. When you get to this fork, take a right till we get to this wall. We're going to continue to take a right. Here, another right. This is the item we came for. Collect it, and we have to leave like normal. So, the same, but lefts, pretty much. Depending on the camera angles you decide to use. It's worth mentioning that every small adjustment you see to the camera I am doing in real time. I personally run this game, and it's really odd. I never ran a game this way before, but I personally run this game what I would call claw style, or overhand style. I'm not really sure what the proper term is. Where I wrap my right hand over the top of the controller rather than behind it, because I don't really use R much at all. And it allows me to press some of the face buttons a little faster and more efficiently. Anyway, when you get to this dirt patch and get rid of that text box, use this bean, and it'll make the true final boss appear. Jokes aside, this thing is terrible. Dismiss that text box, and then the goal here is to jump up these leaves. I'm going to leave this up to you guys to practice. Please find a better way. That wasn't bad. It can be very tricky. The hitboxes are very strange on those leaves. Anyway, continue up, and we're going to go back into Brani Village. Here, we're going to cut a slight right, but go up these stairs. Again, diagonal into the wall. Through the door. Walk back here. You just don't have to do anything. Just walk back here, and a small text box thing will trigger on its own. Where you give the herb to them. Come around here. Again, diagonal stairs. Jump. Big wide jump. Try to jump as much as possible to preserve momentum. Big wide jump. Jump as much as possible. Preserve momentum. Try to cut the corner if you can. Big wide jump. Preserve momentum. Now from here, pause the game. Press up A. We're going to go back into this menu here, and we're going to set the timer back to slow. We no longer need it to be set to fast. The reason we had it set to fast before was so that the chief would be further down the village at this point in the game. On normal, he is a little further down the village, but the NPC cycle doesn't work. On slow, none of it works at all, to my knowledge. Again, please experiment with different configurations and such, and let me know your findings. But anyway, set the timer back to slow at this point with my particular route. Go through this door. Come in here. We're going to sleep 6 times. Yes, you heard me. 6 times. That's 1. You can just take a step back over this like line on the plank and then immediately back. 2. In order to be able to reinitiate the bed. If you just try to like barely move at all, you won't be able to reactivate it. Just back across this flat line on the ground. This one right behind us here, if you see what I'm talking about. Like so. 3. 4. 5. And 6. And that'll be the end of this part. In the next part, we're going to finish up Brani Village and head into Ruby Canyon and get to the second dungeon, Dynolith Ruins.